Well, we're here with our Director of Player Personnel, Joe Hortiz. Here at the Combine in a couple of days, the guys are going to be out here on the field working out. So when you look at the board right now, what stands out to you about this draft class?
Well, I'd just say the board in general is a deep draft. You know, we have more names up there this year than we've had in the past years, kind of spread out amongst the positions. Wide receivers are really deep year, running backs are really deep class this year, DBs, all strong classes. And then I'd say just when looking at the positions that are perceived needs, they're available throughout all rounds of the draft. So it should be a fun draft this year.
It's still early, but when you look at kind of the way the board sits for you right now, it is good for what the needs are on this roster.
Yeah, I definitely would say so, and you feel that way. And most years you feel that way, like, hey, I think we can get players at this position at this time of the draft. That's what you go into every draft hoping, but obviously there's some years where it doesn't work its way out that way, and so you have to fight around it and work around it and hope the draft comes to you.
Now, this is the second year that you're going into the draft with Eric DeCosta running the entire process as the team's GM. We talked so much last year about analytics. I'm curious how that has influenced and maybe changed the draft process.
I don't know if it's necessarily changed the draft process, but you're able to use it as part of the process. And I think over the years, when Ozzie was the GM and Eric, we've been working through analytics and developing our analytics department. And you've seen it just grow and be more included in the process.
A player that everybody talks about obviously is Lamar Jackson. When you're going out to schools and meeting with coaches and players, are you already seeing the influence that he's having on young players in the college game?
I'd say the recognition is certainly there.
Okay.
When you go to the schools, it used to be when we'd go to the schools and guys would say, especially in the Southeast, hey, tell Ray Lewis I said what's up.
Okay.
You know, they may not know Ray Lewis, but they know Ray Lewis. We see that with Lamar now. Hey man, tell LJ, you know, and so I think his fans are everywhere, obviously, and you see the players identify him and recognize him and really, you know, kind of be influenced by him. And then you see his game, you know, the college game. He fit the college game well when he played there at Louisville, and you see more teams starting to do it and incorporate the things we do. But we've stolen a lot from them as well.
So last year you took Hollywood Brown with your first round pick, and obviously you had a really strong rookie season. What did you learn about that process and drafting receivers from seeing the success that he had in year one?
Well, I think that the explosive playmaking that he brings to the table, I think that it stood out this year. I think we all saw it as fans and employees of the Ravens and players and coaches. So I think when you look at the explosion that he brings to the offense, you definitely want to try to get more of that on the field to couple with him and see if you can really build a dynamic offense.
So you want to add more to the equation. So you look at this receiver class. Right. Do you feel like you'll be able to find somebody, whatever point it is, who could come in and make an immediate impact along with Hollywood?
You certainly hope that, yes, absolutely. You know, and there's different types of players, and we have this conversation about wideouts every year. You know, what are you looking for? Well, the big guy who doesn't run maybe as fast as the little guy, it can still be highly productive for you. The ball skills, the ability to adjust, make difficult contested grabs. So I think there's a lot of receivers in this draft that can do different things that can help our offense go.
So if you look at mock drafts right now, the two guys who are most often mocked to us are Kenneth Murray from Oklahoma and Patrick Queen from LSU, both inside linebackers. Sure. I think that's mostly because people are looking at need and saying that those are two guys who are at the top of the list. Right. What do you think of those two guys?
I think they're both, you know, really productive players for their schools. And when you watch both those guys, the one thing that stands out about both of them is their speed, their athleticism. You see them making plays sideline to sideline and you know, being highly productive for their team. So that's the biggest thing that stands out about them. You know, again, we're at 28, so there's no telling who's going to be there when we pick right now.
Maybe the second most popular position mocked right now would be pass rusher. You know, again, there's uncertainty with Matthew Judon, what happens there. When you look at the pass rusher class, one thing that you guys have been able to do historically is find guys late in the draft, 4th, 5th round, who have been highly productive. Judon's an example of that. Za'Darius is an example of that. You can go down the line. Do you feel like you'll have the ability, if you were to wait and try to address that late in the draft, that you could continue that trend?
The opportunity exists. Again, right now it does, but you just have to see how the draft played out. You know, with a guy like Matt's a good example, and Z, you know, we had grades on them that where we took them, we felt like they were awesome picks, but we didn't think they would necessarily be there when we picked, you know. So the draft's got to match, you know, or come to you sometimes, especially you got to get a guy that late in the draft in the 4th and 5th rounds where you weren't expecting him to be available at that time. So it's got to kind of come to you in those cases, and we were happy to get those guys those years. So.
Lastly, Joe, when you leave here next week, what will it take to feel like you're coming out of here after a really successful week?
I'd say getting to know the players that we have an opportunity to spend time with. Obviously, one of the most important things of the combine is our doctors get their hands on the players, and to be able to identify the concerns and the risks of players, both from a medical standpoint and then just talking to them and spending time with them. Having a chance, our coaches get a chance to probably interview close to 200 players on top of the formal interviews that we bring in. So we're spending time with probably almost all the guys here with our scouts, our coaches, and then us in the formal room. So you get a chance to know the players a little bit better. I think that's a big thing. Obviously the field workout. It's fun to see it and it's important, there's no doubt, but the time we spend with the players from an organizational standpoint is very important.
I thought you were going to say getting a few good meals at St. Elmo's.
Oh, you know what? That would be great, but the night schedule with us having to do workouts in there, we might not be able to go there this year. I may meet you out there though, and I'll make sure I vouch for you again with Ming.
Just give me your credit card and we'll keep the tab open for you once you're done with the workouts.
Okay, yeah, that'll work. Right?
All right, hey Joe, thanks so much for the time.
Absolutely, yeah.